Sup nerds, I'm Tom. We're going to talk about this game. I'm not so certain how to pronounce it, but it's got a tree on the front, it's got a board, it's got some cards, it's got some cubes, it's got some tokens, it's got some other tokens, it's got some other cards, it's got this thing, whatever this is. This game's been described to me as a civilization game, but I don't think that's really fully accurate. Like, it definitely, I mean, it's definitely a Euro game, and it has the civilization aspect in that, in general, in civilization games, I always feel like there's a couple different avenues, different tracks you could go down, and the further you go down one, the better that track is. However, the tracks kind of relate to each other. Like, okay, well, I want to get a lot of resources. Okay, well, I really need to spread out on the board. Okay, well, I'm really, really thin on the board now, so I need to add more military. Well, in order to beef up my military, I need to be getting more money, and I get money from this thing. And then science track over here, that this gets more exponential, and it'll help me get more land and help me use the resources. You know what I mean? Like, everything's interwoven together. So it does have that interwovenness to it. But the biggest aspect that it doesn't have is the science track. There's no science track, or, I mean, I guess you could, there's a certain mechanic that you could argue is kind of like it, but it's really not. And there's definitely no war, no fighting, no nothing. And even like the spreading out on the map, there is a map and there are ways to build buildings out on the map, but that's also pretty minimal as well. The main mechanic of this game is something I've never really seen before. It's sort of like action selection, like, you have X number of actions you can do, but you're kind of drafting your actions from the board, right? But you pick up these tiles. You still have to pay for them, so it's not like pure drafting. So you still are looking out at the available actions. Say, I'm going to take this action. I'm going to pay to take this action, basically. But they also have these little time tokens on them, which means on your board here you have all these empty slots, and then you have little lock tokens on other slots. So throughout the game, through certain things, you can unlock and have more actions. But basically, if I want to take an action, I take the tile and I put it onto a little square on my action board. So I have one less action. Now, every open square on my board is an action. I place a little token there that covers up an action. But the token has a little hourglass on it. So I also need to take a little hourglass token and place that on another action slot. So most of these actions out here require you to take up 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 of the action slots on your board. So if you look, I have 5 open slots, that means I can take 5 actions. No, you're probably going to take like 2, maybe 3. Because there are a few actions that actually do take up only one slot. They're very minimal. They're just the gaining money or gaining the first player token. And it also gives you a little bit of money. But it's most of the actions are going to be at least 2 slots. There is actually a way where, like, let's say if you're taking a token that says, this token also has 2 time tokens. So that's going to take up 3 spaces in total. Well, the time tokens are really thin, so you can actually put 2 time tokens in one space. So now this action that would normally take up 3 slots is actually only taking up 2. But then when you wipe the board for the end of the round, you actually leave one of those time tokens there. If there's 2 time tokens in one space, you only remove 1. So you're paying that many actions to take that thing regardless, no matter what. Okay, Tom, we understand how to take actions. What are the actions? Okay, well, the main things are you can build buildings, you can draw cards, you can play cards, and you can gain, this is like influence in people, or you're gaining population or whatever, like you're gaining priests and warriors and workers and stuff like that. But it's really like these different tracks on your board, which is really interesting. Another interesting mechanic. Like every mechanic used in here has like a little twist to it that I'm either like, I've never seen that before, or yeah, I've seen that done, but not that often, and maybe not in this exact way. But so it's like these 3 different tracks, but it's counting 6 different things because you move up on either side of the track and they can never occupy the same space. So if I want to gain a bunch of one thing, it's going to push down the amount I have of that other thing, if that makes sense. What those things are mostly for is for playing cards. And cards are the main way that you get points. They have special abilities and points on them and things that they do, but they have a prerequisite usually, like they don't really have a cost. Like you don't spend money for them. You spend money to take actions, but when you play a card, you just need to meet the prerequisites, which sometimes is having buildings built, but it's usually having the certain amount of these people that it requires. Like basically having these tracks in the right spaces, having 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of these. But a lot of the times, especially in round 3, a lot of the cards require you to have, like, let's say 4 or 5 of something, which means you can't just bring both tracks to 3 where everything's in the middle and, oh, I'll probably be able to complete pretty much anything. No, some of these tracks are going to require you to push down this way or that way or whatever. Since I'm talking about the cards, the only aspect that I think could somewhat relate to a science track is there are symbols on the cards, and the more of that symbol you play, the more points you get. I mean, you could argue that that's kind of like the science thing in Seven Wonders maybe, but I mean, come on, listen. As I'm explaining this to you, you'll think like, yeah, this doesn't really feel that much like a Civ game, like you're building up a civilization. Like I have my land area and I have the buildings there and I have the military to back it up and we're doing things in there. We're building sciences and we're going up these different tech trees, you know? Not really. It's just, it's a fun Euro game and it's very interesting, so just don't worry about the theme. The other main thing you're doing is building buildings. So you're getting cards, you're getting people moving up these tracks, and you're building buildings. The buildings give you certain benefits when you build them and at the end of every age. And it's when you build, there's 3 different colors of like areas that you can build in. When you build a lot in the same area, whenever you build, you'll instantly get the benefits from every building that you have there. So when I put my 4th building out in this red area, hey, I'm triggering all these red buildings again. That's pretty awesome. But at the end of every round, you will get you'll get a benefit from one building in each color. So you want to both diversify and build a bunch in one color if you can. Those are the 3 like main things you're doing in this game. Obviously there's more stuff like that, and everything is interwoven. Everything helps with everything else. So I'm not going to explain to you everything with the game, but that's a brief overview. But the uniqueness of the game is, I think the action selection thing with that time track is really cool. And also the way that you purchase things is a bit different. The way that you purchase cards and that you purchase people up here. It's like this weird track. It's like it'll be hard to explain even right now. Like the number of cards you want to purchase and the position you want to purchase from depends on how much you want to pay. So like if you want to buy just one card, right? You just want to buy one card, and if you pay 8 money, you can buy any card from here, right? Which would be silly. You would probably just want to pay 1. But a lot of the times it's not even about how much you pay. It's about how much you pay for the tile you took. So it's a little funky, but like, okay, if you wanted to buy 3 cards, if you paid 10 money, you could buy any cards from here. If you wanted to buy 3 cards and you only paid 6 money, you could buy any 3 from here. It's like, it definitely makes sense once you get it. Like you probably even got it from that explanation, but if you didn't, you're not alone, because that is definitely the clunkiest part. The time track is a bit clunky to explain, but it runs pretty smoothly after that. This thing though, especially because there are special abilities that like where you don't, okay, so I'm going to pick up this thing that says I can buy a card and it costs 8, which means I could pay 8 and buy any 1 card from here. I could pay 8 and buy any 2 cards from here. Or since I paid 8, I could essentially buy any 3 cards from here down. But there are special abilities that say, oh, you don't have to pay whatever the tile says you have to pay. You can pay whatever you want based on which card, how many cards you want to get in the positions and stuff. And especially when those things mix together, it can cause a little bit of clunkiness. And all this to say is that this game is not super heavy. Like recently I've been having so much, trouble using these terms like heavy and complex because it's not, they're so subjective, right? This is not Baby's first game. This is probably not even Baby's second game. It is for slightly more experienced gamers will get this pretty well. But if you're teaching this to people who are relatively new to games, there's going to be a lot of fumbly bumbliness because of things like that, which again, I think that's unique. I think that's cool. I like that, but it does kind of put this game into a different category. Same thing with the time track, I think is really cool and unique. But, and this is probably my biggest complaint about the game, is it causes a lot of difficulty with pre-planning. You want to pre-plan, like most every game, you want to pre-plan all of your turns, but you want to be like, I want to take that tile, that tile, that tile, and then I can build this, I can get the bonus for that, blah, 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 blah. But it's sometimes really hard to count that out because you're looking at these spaces and you're saying, well, I'm not really certain if I have enough because, well, I guess if this person takes that tile, then all that's left for me to complete the thing that I want to complete is for me to take this tile, and then I don't have enough space in order for me to do that. Okay, well, I could put 2 of these time tokens on one space, but then I have 1 less left for next round. Is that going to be a problem? That can cause some clunkiness if you're trying to plan out the remaining of the game. And a lot of things are, kind of interwoven into each other. I want to play this card because it'll increase my amount of this guy here so then I can play this other card. Okay, but wait, before I can play this card, I have to build a building. Okay, before I can build that building, I need to purchase and over here. Oh wait, I don't have enough money. But I can get money if I build a building over here. Oh wait, but I don't have the money to build a building. Lots of things are again interwoven with each other, and like they help each other out as things go on, which again is very reminiscent of a Civ type game. But it does require again that pre-planning. Like you need to think, well, before I do this I have to do that, and before I do that I have to do this, before I do this I have to unlock that, which I need to play this card to unlock that, but I can't play this card until I bring these guys up. But if I bring these guys up, then I can't play this card. The other complaint I have is probably setup. Like it does take a little bit of time putting out all these tokens. Setup's not that bad, but it does take a while to put out all these tokens, especially because like they're really small and they have these little dots for like 3 players and 4 players and stuff. And also like some of them have like 3 players plus, so it's 3 dots and a little plus, and it kind of looks like it's 4 dots. Like these tiles are really tiny. And setting up your board and stuff, like as you can see here, even right now, I set up the board, look all nice, and then I went to go get the player boards, and I was like, screw it. Those complaints aside, I really love this game. Like, I always feel like I list complaints just to make sure that I'm giving a well-rounded review and that you understand that no game is perfect and there's going to be issues with it. And if these complaints that I'm listing here, sound like a big deal to you, well, then that's going to be a problem. Maybe this game isn't for you. But really, I had such a great time with this game. It's kind of brain burnery. There's good combos and stuff. It's really fun. It's not that there isn't that much player interaction, which is almost kind of good. Like the player interaction is I took this action before you, or I took this card before you, or I purchased these people and changed the price, so now you can't get them. I'm actually starting to enjoy that amount of not that much player interaction a little bit more, because first of all, with this game, when you need to have everything exactly right to pull off what you want to do, that amount of player interaction is something to think about. You really have to think about like, okay, well, I want to take this token before that person does. Oh no, there's also goals, like the first person to get 8 cards, the first person to have 6 buildings built and stuff. So you want to think about that too, making sure you're getting those goals before other people are. But like, I'm sitting down thinking about my turn for a while. And the second I take my turn, I'm thinking about my next turn. And it's combo-y, and it's brain burnery, and I don't know what other adjectives I need to say to describe this game to tell you that it is awesome. It's probably going to be in my top 10 TMG games. I know it's not gonna be in my top 10 games of all time. I mean, I haven't played it enough. Usually top 10 games of all time is games I played like 10 times, and I'm like, okay, I know, solid, this one's gonna be in here for forever. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about this. The component quality is great. I mean, this isn't even the deluxified version. TMG has the deluxified version. This is just the regular retail. This is the one that's easier to find, and I still think it's solid. I'm not really, like, of course, everybody loves deluxe stuff, better, bigger, better, nicer is always cool. But with TMG, I almost don't feel the need to have the deluxified versions. I don't know if I even own one, because like the retail versions are still so nice. They're such good quality. The art is good. Like, I don't know. It's just amazing. If any of what I was talking about in this video sounds interesting to you, and if you're a reasonably experienced gamer, it should. Like, if you like Euro games at all, I highly, highly recommend you click the link in the description box down below, buy yourself a copy, and while you're down there, you should also check out Game Toppers. I don't want to forget about these guys. They're awesome. It's amazing. Whoa, Tom, this video is so cool because you got that red table and you play it. It's awesome. Check it out in the description box down below. Get yourself one. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. If you're a reasonably experienced gamer, it should sound interesting. If you like Euro games at all, you definitely